Hey y'all. Y'all, I'm just waking up. Here we go. Let me get to where everybody is at.
Necessary based on, oh, we actually have an update, Jesse. I'm going to throw back to you.
We got an update.
A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. So anybody that thought he would get 20 years, that's not happening. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that. But 14 months time served, that would not be sufficient. So he has rejected the defense's recommendation of 14 months. In other words, Diddy is not getting out of prison. He is not getting out of prison today. When he would, we're waiting. I'm not, it's not like I have these updates and I'm purposely delaying. I'm getting to them in real time as we are getting them. Sierra, so again, we're now looking at between 14 months and 11 years. But I guess, again, going back to this idea of, are we looking at 7?
I mean, all speculation as of right now, but I think the most important thing is what you just said there, Jesse. P. Diddy, Sean Combs, is not getting out of jail today. And the 14-month recommendation that the defense brought has just been thrown completely out the window. The judge says, no, that's not sufficient enough. And I think what he's saying could be taken in a couple of different ways. One, that the 11 years is sufficient. Yes, I mean, based on your conviction here, because again, remember, this is a conviction. 11 years makes sense. It checks out. I agree with the prosecution. But to what Serena said earlier, perhaps, and we do have a new update. Jesse,
I think we have the official sentence right now for Sean Diddy Combs. After being convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, the judge has just said, here the data shows a wide variety of sentences. Weighing all of the relevant factors, the court determines that the sentence is 50 months of incarceration. So 50 months of incarceration is a little over 4 years. It's 4.16 years in prison. Now, that is a bit lower than what the range was of 5 to 7 years, Sierra. Let's start there. If I'm reading this correct, and we're talking 50 months.
All right, he got 50 months in prison.
We have another update coming in. I'm just waiting to see what it is. But right now, it appears that Sean Combs has officially been sentenced to 50 months of incarceration, so 4 years in prison. You talk about time served, right? About a year. Are we talking now then 3 years, right, Sierra?
Yeah, so about 3 more years based on the 1 year that he has already served. And I guess, I mean, it is a win for P. Diddy, and that the government asked for 11. You know, the recommendation was 5 to 7, which a lot of us guessed would happen. I mean, yes, he wanted to be out today. That was his goal.
So Diddy got 50 months.
14 months. But 3 years compared to the 11 that the judge says, yeah, that's warranted. I mean, there's a huge difference in the range there, more than a decade versus less than half of a decade. We've got another update, Jesse, back to you.
Yep. Serena, Sean Combs was sentenced to 50 months of incarceration by Judge Subramanian, so a little over 4 years. That minus the 14 months already served. Is that the appropriate sentence, Serena?
Well, I'm sure Diddy is not thrilled to not walk out today, but he should be pretty happy with his defense team, because I think the judge giving less than half of the prosecutor's recommendation and also less than what the pre-sentence report had said is a win for him. I do believe that 4 years is a win in this particular case.
Joe, what did it? Was it his letter? Was it the letters of family? Was it the children speaking? Was it the work that he's doing behind bars? Was it the nature of these charges? You know, as much as we say that look, the judge was not convinced to throw out the charges, right? The defense put forward that motion saying transportation to engage in prostitution should be thrown out. This is not prostitution. It's protected by the First Amendment. The judge didn't buy it. But the argument, hey, he wasn't convicted of racketeering. He wasn't convicted of sex trafficking, just the prostitution charges, can't create a disparity based on other defendants who are sentenced. Maybe 4 years is appropriate and won't be overturned on appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had to position this a certain way. And there's a couple things to figure in. First of all, we got to go back to the fact that the defense did an enormous job in getting him off of the most serious charges, right? So we're talking about something that's going to be smaller and it's going to be less time anyway.
So Diddy
Next,
got,
there's
let
a
me let,
probation department recommendation.
so they went near the probation officer's PSR report, and they give given him 50 months. That's about 4.1 years, minus the credit that he's going to get for being already in jail. Yes, you did. You did. You sure did. Y'all, I'm up. And here's what's so funny. I slept hard until maybe like 30 minutes ago. You did call it. You did call it. Shout out to Tina from She Dreads Me. And if you all haven't, if you like movie reviews, television reviews, and legal news, please follow She Dreads Me. Let me finish this out.
Right, which put things at a certain place. And it sounded like even though the judge talked about how 11 years wouldn't have necessarily been unreasonable, and he said 14 months would have been entirely unreasonable if I am hearing it correctly, he still is in line in that he doesn't want to do something that'll necessarily be appealable, and he wants to arrive somewhere not too far afield from the recommendations themselves. And so again, here's Diddy in a situation where he did a lot better than he might have. And you know, that 3 years is going to go by in no time. And the day that he was found guilty of most of everything, it ensured that he would have a date that he would get home at some point anyway. So he will get home. He's better off than he may have been, than a lot of people would have been, even though he's not coming home today.
Serena, does he serve the full 3 years or does he serve 85%? In other words, would he serve 2.5 years?
So there is opportunity for him to get out earlier on good
Interesting.
behavior. And so the calculation is not
Hey, she
exact.
loves
And time will
fantasies.
tell whether he will be getting out with some time off from the full 3. I know it's a 4-year
Hello
sentence.
there.
Obviously, the 14 months counts. You already deduct that. I mean, that's definitely coming off because he does have credit for the time served. So already it's less than the sentence that he's getting, the 4 years. But yeah, he could very easily be walking out sooner rather than later. So the children will have their father home sooner than they expected. And as Joe mentioned before, he can be on his comeback tour, you know, in no time.
Let's just, we had a poll up. What do you think Diddy's sentence will be? So 31% said less than 5 years. They were correct. It's interesting as we're processing the sentence of 4 years, time served 3, maybe 85%, so 2.5, 3 years to serve behind bars. I wonder if he's actually going to now have to serve it at the MDC because it's it's a lesser sentence than we were anticipating. I will say the court imposes a fine of $500,000, including to defray the costs of imprisonment. There is no restitution, but there is forfeiture as reflected in the order. There is a $5,000 fine under the statute and a special assessment of $200. Sierra, I go to you. This is interesting because I also wonder what the reaction is going to be outside that courthouse in a few minutes. What we're going to hear from the attorneys, what we're going to hear from.
So he's got 50 months, and the judge imposes a fine of $500,000, including to defray the cost of imprisonment. There is no restitution, but there's a forfeiture as reflected in the order. There is a $5,000 fine under the statute and special assessment.
After the verdict came down, you could feel it in the air. It was, intense. You could actually feel the emotion. Now that the sentence has been handed down, it seems to me like no one around us actually knows that it was handed down. I mean, it did just happen. We're probably one of the first ones to report it at all, but there's been no commotion. There's been
I want to speak to the strong women who came forward. Miss Ventura and Jane, you've been through trauma we can't imagine. Miss Ventura said it was forced sex and degradation. I want to say we heard you. You weren't just speaking to the jurors, but to other victims. You stood up to power. It's not easy. Violence behind closed door doesn't have to stay secret forever. And I know you still bear trauma, but you've taught us that you don't have to stay a victim.
etc. I'm going to say that's a huge win for Diddy, especially when his life was in the balance. And I wonder if that's what we're going to hear. I wonder if prosecutors are going to say, we asked for the 11 years. The judge says it was warranted, and yet we didn't get the 11 years. And I wonder if the defense is going to say it's still too much. It's far too long. Get him out with his children. We're going to appeal. I mean, so there's still a lot ahead.
Well, first of all, the judge said this is, quote, hard time, but also indicated that he's going to have a life after prison.
I am surprised too.
59, 60 years old, potentially, probably 59 years old. The judge says, I want to speak to the strong women who came forward. Miss Ventura and Jane.
I'm surprised too. I just knew he was going to get 6 or 7.
It was forced sex and degradation. I want to say, we heard you. You weren't just speaking to the jurors, but to other victims. You stood up to power. It's not easy. Violence behind closed doors doesn't have to stay secret forever. I know you still bear trauma, but you've taught us you don't have to stay a victim. Now, Serena, that is important. That's an important statement from the judge here, because there are those who will look at this and say, this is not enough time, that this doesn't recognize what the victims went through in a case like this, particularly Cassie, when we talk about the video that was shown. It's felt very deliberate on the part of the judge. But to be clear, the prosecution doesn't have grounds to appeal this. Oh, the judge said 11 years, gave 4. They can't fight this, right?
Correct. They can't. And I agree with you that it does seem like the judge was issuing a little bit of an apology to the women, to Cassie, to the victims for this sentence, which is an interesting point. I mean, the judge obviously knows that unlike most cases, this will be publicized one way or another. People will have very strong opinions about the fact that a 4-year sentence really calculates to basically like 2.5 more years in prison for Diddy. Which does feel probably to the victims a little bit like a slap on the wrist. So I do think that that statement was necessary from the judge. I don't know that it's going to fix the feelings that Cassie and others may be feeling right now.
Joe, we have a question from Jane Elaine. The judge specifically mentioned that he exploited women, but that wasn't the charge. So does he have grounds to appeal and get the sentence overturned?
No, I don't think that he will. Again, there's a lot of crossover in terms of some of the things that occurred. There's an argument. This is a form of exploitation, transferring somebody across state lines, transporting them for purposes of prostitution. So I don't think that there would be grounds just because of the words that he used in this context. And again, there's a lot of gray area here in terms of the crossover between the crimes. There are some larger statements to be made. Not every statement that he made is within the confines of the trial of what he was tried and convicted of. So in other words, if he was to say, for instance, Diddy, you've done some bad things. Well, yeah, he has done some bad things. And he's talking generally about the fact that he's done some things that are reprehensible, et cetera. So not every word he's going to use. I think there's an argument that he did exploit women. I think that it is a form of exploitation to transport someone across state lines.
Visible folks will have opportunities to be able to defend themselves and, be able to sort of cast their narratives in their own light and have that be reflected in sentencing. I don't think this does much to either tarnish or enhance his legacy. I think it has more implications on the criminal justice system and how folks who've been accused of certain crimes get that reflected. His legacy remains the same. He still remains an important figure in hip hop. He still remains a person who has tons of power and authority. But in many ways, it also says, if you do the crime, you will do the time. Whether or not that
Yeah,
time
he is
reflects what
struggling.
it should be, we don't know. Again, I'm trying to capture the sort of feeling in the air right now, and I think everyone seems equal parts expectant and unsure if this reflects the appropriate sentencing. Yet here we are.
So, do you think that this sentencing and the outcome of this case, with Diddy being acquitted on the more serious charges, will have an impact and affect similar charges to that are faced by Hollywood figures in hip hop to come? Do you think that this will have an influence on maybe whether prosecutors will bring charges at all if they'll view it as worth it or not?
I truly believe that the sentencing may not necessarily reflect what other folks who are in the music industry or the entertainment industry might feel as far as the sentencing itself may not impact folks. I do think, though, that the larger context, the media response, the public response, the videos being shown of folks committing crimes, I think that ultimately would be a deterrent to folks who may who may feel as though they have the ability to be able to do whatever they want. That might take some pause. I think the real challenge here, the real heft here, is not in the sentencing per se. It's in the entire media attention, the entire general circus, the entire sort of population being engaged. I don't think anyone who works in the industry would want to go through this. Even if the sentencing may appear light, I think the larger implications are about how folks are feeling, the narrative that you try to portray to the public being challenged, and letting folks know that the power they hold extends only so far. It doesn't extend into the criminal justice system.
So you are a scholar of hip hop, and I guess you have sort of seen the culture of hip hop evolve over the years, over the decades. Do you think that had this sentencing and had the outcome of this case happened maybe 10 or 20
You talking about Young
years ago,
Thug?
do you think that would sort of change the culture or be more of a watershed moment or less than it is now? Do you think that's sort of where we are in the culture today in 2025 and will sort of affect how people view him and how, if they forgive Diddy or not?
I absolutely believe.
I think those that are diehard Diddy fans are they're just skipping a beat, because you just think about how some in the hip hop culture, particularly in that sub or genre of gangster rap and all that other stuff, they don't mind doing time. Whoop de doo. I think that they are like looking like this might be a level of things, but let's keep this in perspective. He was convicted of trafficking people for the purpose of sex. I think that the judge did what he needed to do. He kind of came, if you he left the prosecution's recommendation in the dust, and he went between halfway of the defense's recommendation and the PCR report. So
A watershed moment, a watershed year, a significant point in the ways that folks look at figurehead.
if you all are just joining us, Judge Aaron Subterraneum, he just put down his sentence for Diddy. Diddy has been sentenced to 50 months in federal prison with a $500,000 fine. 50 months is about 4.1 years. You subtract 1 year for the time that he's already served. So he's looking to serve another a year and a quarter, maybe another year. Probably go inching closer to 2 years, 4 years, 2 years. Yeah. So he's got another 2.5 years to serve before he's going to be able to get out.
In hip hop culture and beyond. And I truly do also believe that if this case had come to light about 15 years ago or 20 years ago, that the nature of the music, the nature of those who hold power within the industry would have shifted. I think it also has implications on what gets shared and what gets told, or what gets put into lyrics. I think from this point forward, folks will be a lot more cautious about being cavalier around issues related to sexual violence or other issues.
So let me go ahead and do this real quick. Looks like Cassie came out with a statement. So Doug Wignor, Cassie Ventura's attorney, released the following. While nothing can undo the trauma caused by Sean Diddy Combs, the sentence imposed today recognizes the impact of the serious offenses he committed. We are confident that with the support of her family and friends, Ms. Ventura will continue healing, knowing that her bravery and fortitude have been an inspiration to so many. And that is a statement that CNN published in regards to Cassie Ventura. Mm-hmm. Hey, Donna, happy Friday. Hello, hello, hello. Again, if you are just joining us, Sean Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, however, whatever iteration you know him to be, just was convicted for the crime of two counts of
the way that he described it in his letter.
Transportation of people across state lines for the prostitute. He was given 50 months, which is like 4.1 years, plus a $500,000 charge. So he got 50 months, and then he's, like I said, he's got 50 months. Well, you go ahead and subtract that 12 months that he's already served. So he's got 38 months, and he's got to serve 3/4, 85% of that. So he's got another 20, probably another 27 more months in prison. Let's get back to what they're saying, y'all.
He will have than he's had at MDC. That being said, obviously he's going to be isolated. He's not going to have his freedom. He's not going to have this publicity, where he goes to court and everybody talks about him. So hopefully he'll have some time to reflect on all of this. Maybe he'll do some good back there. He'll help some fellow inmates, entertain them. Or
let me get you the last wordings of the judge. As he was talking to the victims. You weren't just speaking to the jurors, but to other victims. You stood up to power. It's not easy. Violence behind closed doors doesn't have to stay secret forever. I know you still bear trauma, but you've taught us. As Dr. King taught us, out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. Mr. Combs, your mom writes that you have always been a good son. The same power that enables you to hurt these women, you could use to help. And so they adjourned it. And you know what I say about these mamas and these good sons?
Hopefully he'll be changed, but it does seem
he
did
be a terrible human.
He to be able to change.
He'll probably do only half of that.
Back there.
Judge Arun Subramanian just said this to Sean Combs, that he's likely in a dark place right now, but, quote, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. These letters, all those letters that I saw, show that you have a universe of people who love you. Let them lift you up now, just like you've lifted them up for so many years. Sierra, this is from a human point of view. I have to tell you, from a legal point of view, I'll tell you, Judge Arun Subramanian, throughout the course of this trial, I was very impressed with his rulings. I was very impressed with his demeanor, how he handled such a high-profile case with difficult subject matter. And to take the time to address both Sean Combs and to address the victims in this case in a very particular way, it says a lot about this judge. And I have to just tell you, from a personal point of view, I was very impressed with the way that he handled it. What's your take on this?
It's interesting that you bring that up, Jesse, because today, being back here in the Southern District of New York, I'm kind of going back in my mind and reviewing the case as a whole. I mean, I know I covered it every day. You did, Elizabeth did. So we all were kind of immersed in all of this. And I was thinking about how Judge Arun Subramanian really had the weight of the world on his shoulders today when it comes to the sentencing in terms of how much is at stake. And I was thinking back to all the rulings that he had previously made, and I thought that he was very diplomatic. I mean, I didn't personally see any sort of wild favoritism for one side or another. I thought that it was interesting today that he ruled that the victims were victims, that he was going to take into consideration some of the testimony in regards to, the RICO charge, the racketeering conspiracy, in regards to this conviction on the transportation to engage in prostitution. But I do think he did a very good job of being fair, addressing Diddy, saying this isn't the end of the line for you. You said that you had remorse. You said that there was reform. You still can do that, while also acknowledging the huge amount of trauma that these victims have had to endure on a public stage, no less. This is, one of the most high profile cases we've ever covered here on Law and Crime. And I think he did so very eloquently.
So the judge, by the way, later on, we're going to have Elizabeth Milner out, and we're going to do a special sidebar episode with her because I want to know what it was like in that courtroom when this sentence was handed down. I want to know what it was like when Sean Combs delivered his words. So we're definitely going to get her on to talk about that. What I do want to say, I want to thank everybody for coming on, and I want to get some final thoughts. So, Serena, I'll start with you. It's been a long day. It's been a long 2 years since this all began, really. It's been a long trial. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's the end of a very long chapter, as you said. I think that the trial was comprehensive. I think the sentencing date was comprehensive. Like, I do think that every single box was checked throughout this entire experience. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like anybody dropped any balls, really. I mean, everybody fought for their side of the argument. And the judge, I agree with you, was listening and made rulings throughout that seemed thoughtful and based on law. So look, I think that the judge came in with probably what he expected to say and didn't change what the sentence he anticipated giving was. I think that the sentence feels a little low, but I also understand that the defense did a nice job at making sure that Diddy was not convicted of the worst of the worst. And we're left with two crimes that really don't carry necessarily the lengthiest of sentences. So I think the judge tried to balance out everybody's arguments, look at the probation report, and kind of meet somewhat in the middle, but gave Diddy a little bit of a boost there.
Darling 618 asked me, Jesse, do you think this was fair? I don't know if fair is the word I would use. Do I understand it? Absolutely. Absolutely. This was not going to be a situation where he was going to get 20 years in prison. He wasn't convicted of the most serious charges. So without coupling that, without tying that to the prostitution charges, it mitigates it. It makes it less of a crime. But the amount of times that he did this, the level of violence that was used, the deception that was used, the aggravating factors that contribute to it, I understand that he's not getting out of prison today. I never, the idea of 14 months, it was a stretch. So it seems that from the statements from his family, the work that he's been doing, the impact he can have on the outside, it seems that the judge believes him, that he can be a force of good on the outside, that even deviating from the 5 to 7 range by a year, time served, 3 years, there are people who think it's too low. There's people who think it's too high. I will just say I understand it based on the law. Joe, I give you the word.
As it pertains to my thoughts, I thought that the judge was very fair all the way throughout, very thoughtful, did things the right way, and showed that he was thoughtful even when it came to this final decision. There are victims here, and their job is to get through from day to day, even though with what they've gone through, they may never get over those things. And that's something that they always have to live with, and that my heart goes out to them because of that. Diddy was morally wrong all day long for all of these things. And on some level, he was legally wrong, but he had very good attorneys that ensured that he had a date. That means that one day he will get out. And the final thing that I'll say is that P. Diddy actually still has the opportunity to do everything he said he was going to do.
Let me pause here because before I got off the thing with with my allergies, and they are a little bit better as we speak right now. I think I am surprised that the knowledge that he had speaking engagements planned for next week. I was surprised that that didn't influence the judge a little bit. I think, like I said, he started at the 7 years. I think each one of those kids testifying kind of chipped away at everything, and anybody else who testified for him chipped things away for Diddy. Because I still think he was probably going to get them 7 years. I think them children helped him get the lesser time because, and when they talk about him being remorseful, his actions were showing that, hey, he ready to get out, he ready to do what he need to do, and those things can be interpreted by the court as disrespect. It could be. We're not, like I said. But what do y'all think? I see a lot of y'all. Let me go back through here. So I'm gonna start at the top where She Dredgeby says, "Didn't I call it, Pam? Yes, you did call it." She said 3 to 5, and he's right there in the middle. Now, Nitabita says crazy. And thank you so much for being a member. She says she'll be all right. He just got to go sit down for another 2.5 years. Yes, he's got a lot of time to reflect. He's got a lot of time to be sober. And he's got a lot of time to be able to sit back and figure out what he's going to do with all these civil cases. So, the attorney fees are still racking up. So, excuse me. He's just going to get a pardon from Cankle Cheetos. I don't know. The Cheeto Fuhrer said that Diddy was on the other side of the political aisle for him, so he doesn't know if he's going to do that or not. I am too. I thought he was going to get anywhere from 5 to 7 is where I was going. I thought he was going to get anywhere between 5 to 7 because I knew trying to get 14 months in time served wasn't going to fly. He's struggling with the words. Can't remember his name, but they charged and tried a hip hop artist here in Atlanta over pimping ex trafficking, him and his mom. Oh, yeah, because I said Young Thug, and you said, no, that's a different rapper. Thug was drugs and racketeering. Got you. Gang charges. I am not sure. Happy Friday. Okay, we're just going over. Diddy was sentenced to 50 months in jail minus the 12 months for good behavior with a $500,000 fine. Yeah, basically 2 years. Your math is correct. Probably like 2 years and 2 months. Well, he's got to do 85% of it, Blue. Feds say you got to do 85%. I think the judge sentenced him for that Cassie video, not for what he was actually convicted of. Well, I would say this, because the way that they were going through those 900 Mann Act cases, just for one charge, people were getting 24 months. And I think that's where Diddy's team thought that where the range should have been. So I think he gave him 20. Let's say I think he gave him 24 months, 2 years per charge is what I think. Yeah. Well, like I said, he has the ability to compartmentalize. He can show his mama he's a good boy. He could get out and he could be a philanthropist. He could be a mogul with the liquor or the clothes. He can do all of that. We do understand that, none of the artists that he had on Bad Boy had a lot of great things to say. Either they despise him or they're dead. He's gonna come back at you. Ooh, not an episode of Oz. It's an easy sentence for Trump to suspend and give him clemency. True. Pee Wee Longway. Hey, Andre. Did he taste the bit? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna need for you to stop, Dre Ware. I'm gonna need you to stop with them butter with them biscuits. Let's see. I'm just
on being released. It's not happening as soon as he wants it to, but take those same words that he just said to the judge and realize that basically the jury has already accepted that on some level, in that
Right.
he was found not guilty on the most serious crimes, and he's going to get an opportunity to see if he's that guy, and he's forever changed, and he has learned his lesson. So years from now, we'll be able to have this discussion and say, did he really mean what he said?
I was trying to see if they captured the people coming out of the courtroom.
That means that one day he will get out. And the final thing that I'll say is that P. Diddy actually still has the opportunity to do everything he said he was going to do.
Oh, okay.
Upon
The
being
rapper she was
released.
talking about was
It's
Pee Wee
not happening
Longway.
as soon as
Okay.
he wants it to, but take those same words that he just said to the judge and realize that basically the jury has already accepted that on some level, in that
Right.
he was found not guilty on the most serious crimes, and he's going to get an opportunity to see if he's that guy, and he's forever changed.
Pee Wee
and
Longway
he has
sounds like a
learned his
trafficker's
lesson.
name.
So years from now, we'll be able to have this discussion and say, did he really mean what he said at that point, or was he saying that just to get out in the moment? Time will tell. He still has every opportunity from a resource standpoint, even though he'll take a hit. If he doesn't have resources, he certainly knows how to get them. He can still turn this story into a positive. I don't believe his life is shattered as much as some of the victims are, to be perfectly honest with you. He has the opportunity to do everything he says he would do.
I just sped it
if he
up a
was
little bit,
released,
y'all.
because he's going to be released. So we'll
Yep.
see.
And let me leave it here. The judge had said to Sean Combs, your letter said you lost your way, but there's a true path to redemption here. What went wrong and what can be made right? And the judge told Sean Combs, I'm counting on you to make the most of that second chance. Joe Richardson, Serena Townsend, Sierra Gillespie, thank you all so very much for your incredible analysis and coverage. And Sierra, also a big shout out. You're out there with me for 8 hours today. Thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate it. And everyone out there, thank you for staying with us for our live coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs criminal case. It has been a pleasure to bring it to you. We will be back, as always, here on Long Crime with the biggest cases. I'm Jesse Weber. Have a great night.
So whatever he's already spent on defense fees, he now has to pay a $500,000 fine, and he'll have to pay whatever judgments he gets in these civil actions, or if he determines a settlement is in order, he'll have to pay that. So I think all in all, he has faced both civil and criminal ramifications from his actions. He actually spoke today. He was the last person to speak. And he said, I have reached the lowest low. I am remorseful. Despite what the government says, I am very sorry and I take full accountability for my actions. And he mentioned he's lost everything. He's lost time with his family. He's lost his businesses. So I do think that the impact of everything, including the civil suits against him, has taken its toll.
So, do you think that the outcome, the ultimate outcome of this case, will also have a bearing on whether similar cases in the future are brought by prosecutors if prosecutors decide to prosecute rather than settle, for example? Do you think this is encouraging for future prosecutors? Do you think it's discouraging? How do you view things going forward in similar cases?
I think prosecutors in the future are going to think about the type of charges they bring. So, for instance, they brought the RICO conspiracy. The jury said no and acquitted him on that charge. They brought a charge for sex trafficking. The jury said no. There was no force, fraud, and coercion as far as sex trafficking is concerned. So, I think the prosecutors in the Southern District are going to think twice before they bring those types of charges. The Mann Act, the jury said yes, you are guilty on 2 counts as it relates to Jane, as it relates to Cassie. And
Tyrese is a bad dog owner. He let his dogs loose, and one of the dogs pruned from the timeline one of his neighbor's dogs. And so he had a warrant. He turned himself in. Not a good dog owner.
believe that in the future, not only will prosecutors think about what charges should they bring, but I think, and the judge mentioned this, people are going to think about how they treat women. People are going to think about what they can and cannot do. This case is serving as an example, the judge said, and that's why he thought that it should be a significant punishment. And to the judge, the 4.2, the 50 months, is a significant punishment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Terry Austin. That was attorney and legal analyst Terry Austin. Thanks so much for sharing your insights and what you observed in the courtroom today.
Thank you.
Looks like they're setting up for a press conference. Don't know who's going to talk. I don't remember seeing anybody leave the courthouse yet. Let me turn. We'll cut this. We'll cut this slow. Yeah, I think that today was looking. Tyrese is just. It always seems like something just so minuscule that Tyrese gets in trouble with. But apparently he has some dogs, and it don't sound like the dogs were trained, and the dogs kept getting out in the neighborhood. The dogs kept getting out in the neighborhood to the point where the dog has pruned a neighbor's dog off the timeline. I don't think you know what? There's a video going around of some lady screaming and hollering about these 2 pit bull. I mean, yeah, they were pit bulls or Rottweilers. I can't think of remember what they were, that were running around the neighborhood. And okay, we got people coming out. Hold on, y'all. Let me go back. We got people coming out because I heard some cheering.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Good. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Good. Okay. Mic 2. Okay. Sorry. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Good. Okay. Thank you.
A 1 2, a 1 2, a 1 2. Mic check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Okay, looks like we got some people coming out. I've got two feeds going, so once I see someone come out on either one of these feeds, I'm going to just switch to that feed. Okay, there's Gloria in the red. Uh-oh. Here we go. That's Gloria, right? Whatever her name is. Here comes the kids coming out. We've got the girls, Quincy. We've got his mom. So there's his family coming out. Is that his sister Keisha that was lingering around the back? And there went Gina. That's a tall man.
I have two civil lawsuits against him from my clients who allege that he sexually assaulted them. And also, I represent a number of victims or alleged victims who spoke to law enforcement, the prosecutors, but the court did not allow many of the witnesses who were willing to testify, probably because of judicial economy, because the trial would have been very long. I don't know. 148 months is what the sentence was. I think the judge was very thoughtful. He didn't do the 11 years that the prosecutor wanted, and nor did he do the 14 months that the defense wanted. So Mr. Combs will be in prison for a while. He basically had a lot of good things to say, the judge did, about Mr. Combs and his contribution to the community over many years and to racial justice. But on the other hand, uh, he has to pay the price for what he did. He could have uh, he could have had 10 years for each of the two counts of the violation of the Mann Act, which is uh, going across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. So I think all in all, he gave the sentence that was recommended by the probation office. And so that's somewhere in between what the prosecution wanted and what the defense wanted. So
All but the underage child. All of his adult children were there.
finally over, except that there will be appeal, of course, by Mr. Combs' very large legal team. And so we'll see what happens on appeal. Yeah, the argument was by the defense that uh, that really this was just watching sex, uh, and uh, and so that's free speech. But the judge did not agree to that argument. Uh,
She loves fantasy. Says if one of his daughters show up with the pink Trump hat, like that Chrisley girl, we all know money talks. Well, here's the thing. Trump is not going to do nothing for free. So, definitely he'd have to give him a good amount of money to get him out. All right, people. So this is what I'm gonna do. We have gotten the verdict. I'm gonna wait about 5 more minutes to see whether or not they're gonna come out and do a press conference. If not, I'll just come back after they do the press conference because I want to do my autopsy of this case, kind of review and summarize everything that's gone on. So if you are following like the Justin Baldoni and the Blake Lively case, I'm quite sure this is probably what you're going to expect in regards to that. Not that they want to come over there and see, but people are probably going to be out there thinking they're going to see Taylor Swift or whoever the actors and actresses that are going to come out. And also, if that Drake trial goes to trial, you're going to see a lot of people like this outside of this wanting to see if Kendrick Lamar is going to show up or not. But I will say this, I think, like I said, I think the judge was as fair as he needed to be. He wanted to be able to put a sentence out that he would believe that would deter Diddy. Just kind of remove him from the zeitgeist for a little while. From that whole thing, P. Diddy. Diddy doesn't have any of his businesses anymore, so I don't think his billionaire status is still intact. Plus, he's got all of these lawsuits that he needs to that are coming through. So his attorneys now are going to have to change their focus on these civil lawsuits. See how many of them that they can get dismissed, if that's what they're going to be working on. I heard some of the pundits talk about these lawsuits where they have like Jane Does and John Does that are anonymous. They're probably going to make them, have to give their name. So I know that one that's been thrown out, that's that one that he was attached to with Jay-Z. And I'm also one of the things that's curious for me is now that we know what the freak offs were, how does that narrative play into the civil lawsuits? Because they can't claim that they were freaked off, but they can, as far as with the drugs, plying with the drugs, now that there's precedence for that, applying people with a lot of drugs and alcohol and things like that. Now that we know that he has been addicted to substances for about 25 years and he's gone to rehab once or twice. I can't think of how many times that he has. What do you all think is that impact in regards to that? So we're just waiting to see if there is going to be a and Gloria Allred, I don't know how old she is, but she need to let her daughter take over the stuff because she was just shaking at the podium. We're just waiting to see if they're going to have a press conference. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm just curious as to now that there is a precedent that drugs and all this other stuff was present. How they're going to craft these cases. because now they're going to start crafting their cases. They're going to be crafting these cases to try to fit closer to what he was convicted of. Now, the cases I think that's going to be interesting to me is the Little Rod case, because that's more of he wants him to pay him his money. And Little Rod's attorney is sitting in jail right now. No, she looks more like Misery to me. And so how many, because he's got about 30 or 40 cases that are pending. And I just have a sneaky suspicion that half of them are going to go away. I think half of those charges are going to go away. And I think he's probably going to have at least three to four that are going to try to go to court. But all these people are going to try to settle. Gloria is going to try to settle. Gloria doesn't have her voice is trembling and whatnot. I wouldn't want her representing me where she didn't appear strong and confident. No shade, just, parts of Lil Rod's case got thrown out. He's got like out of all those charges that he brought down, I think he still has employment or money or whatever it is. That part is still there. But all of the other stuff that he put on there and all the other people who he had put in his lawsuit, yeah. And then he don't have a lawyer, Blue, because his lawyer just got arrested for running somebody over with their car. So I don't know where that lawyer went to I don't know where he went to law school, except for maybe, do you think that Tyrone got his degree in prison? He's got like one charge. It's like one or two charges from the myriad of charges. How are they going to retaliate when you have your clients under immunity? She bought her paperwork like she was getting ready to try a case today. All right, people. If they have a press conference, then they're going to have a press conference and I will review it again. So what I'll do is, because I'm going to pull together a panel, and then we're going to do a autopsy of this case, going back from what we know from court, talk about that all the way up to the sentencing. We're going to talk about all the stunt shows and shenanigans that went on with this court hearing, from all the mess that was going on outside. So it was, I didn't report on that, but once we do this autopsy, I'm definitely going to report on that, because honey, you had content creators going off on content creators. You had content creators supposedly thrown out of the courtroom. Just a whole bunch of stunt shows and shenanigans that have gone on with this particular case. So again, y'all please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand, that I'm over here making me I will. Because there's a lot of shenanigans that were going on. I definitely will, Blue. And as always, people, bye-bye.